I was visiting with a Christian doctor about a month ago, and I asked him the question, what percentage of sickness do you think is, well, that's the question I asked him, let me think. Yes, what percentage of sickness do you think is from sin? And he thought for a while.
People will not be allowed the freedom to have children at will in the future. They will have to be approved as genetically sound before they're allowed to bring offspring into the world. He said that the human race must be made stronger just as cattle and horses are improved by selective breeding. All I can say is, I hope I'm not around for all this.
Instead of fighting with your brother, practice your sevens, it will please your mother.
Post-tribulationists tell us that the church at the end of the tribulation goes up to meet Christ and immediately returns with the King. I cannot accept the yo-yo theory, up and down, presto whipto. This leaves no time for the judgment seat of Christ or the marriage supper of the Lamb. Instead, Christ raptures his church into glory. The judgment seat occurs in the heavenlies as the tribulation bombards the earth. Both elect groups are being prepared for the millennium. Then at the conclusion of the 70th week, Christ returns with the army of believers who were part of the original Great Escape and immediately judges the nations on the basis of their treatment of his brethren, Israelites. Matthew 25, verses 31 to 46. Presently, every anti-Semitic voice heard is indicative that the King is about to return. But before he comes to establish his kingdom, the great escape via the rapture takes place for Christ's bride.
My heart starts quivering.
You know, your dog is a lot like you, and don't be insulted. Many people are surprised to learn that dogs aren't that different than people. Dogs are intelligent, they have feelings, and they have unique personalities. They can learn some amazing tricks, but only if you are willing to teach them. Dogs don't learn the way that humans do by example. Everything they learn beyond innate behaviors must be taught step by step. It is very important that the dog's trainer, that's you, learn how to train quickly, effectively, and permanently. Now this program is not devised to train your dog. It is meant to train you to train your dog. The secret of successful training is that you understand your dog's point of view. If you can train yourself to think in the terms he does, you will know better how to train him. Think. What does he see? What does he hear? What does he expect? What influences him when you teach him to perform a behavior? Now sometimes I try to imagine what the dogs I train are thinking.
We've waited 100 years, and we are not waiting another day. We want all of it now! We want every privilege. We want every benefit. We want every right. We want every opportunity, and we want it now!
Can anyone in this army beat me?
No.
Can anyone in the Israelites' army beat me?
No.
Then, my captain, why don't I win the battle single-handed? Why don't I go out there on the field between the two armies and challenge their champion?
Well,
It's been done before. The two champions come together and fight. Nobody else has to be hurt. And the winner wins for his whole army.
Now bring your focus to that spot over your head again and see a green light, a brilliant green light. It's a second beam of light. This time it's green. And allow that green light, which is the light of nature, to come into you as you did with the white light and surround you and totally envelop you. Allow it to move all the way around your body, from head down to the toe. See it totally surround you. And see it commingle with the white light. We ask that the light of nature also aid us in collecting and transmuting the energies absorbed by the nature kingdoms, including the realm we described as inanimate objects. We also ask that the light of nature aid us so that what we are about to do is for the highest good, and we welcome its presence and thank it. Now you should be totally surrounded and enveloped by the white and green light.
Well, Jack didn't act very smart, it seems, for he traded that cow for a handful of beans.
When Jack got home, his mother was angry, so she threw the beans out the window. And Jack and his mother went to bed hungry.
Who was your father? Well, do not realize this, that's what they were always fighting about. Well, he says, what do your parents do for a living? Well, I says, in the iron and steel business. Mom does the ironing and Pop does the steeling. He says, what's your occupation? I says, I'm a joiner. He says, what in the world is a joiner? Well, I says, I go in a hotel, and when a fella comes in and buys a drink, I join him.
People can do strange things when their very lives are in peril. Just go back to 1940, the Battle of Britain, the great air war finally won by the RAF, the air war that stopped the planned Nazi invasion of Britain. Flying a Hurricane fighter plane in combat was a New Zealand flying officer, John Gibson. In a big dogfight over England, Gibson's plane suffered a mortal burst from a German plane. It was on fire. The sensible thing to do was to bail out. But Gibson feared that his plane might hit a house or a school below, so he chose to remain with it, for which, incidentally, he was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross. Here he was in this burning plane, losing altitude, limping out to the coast, hoping to get over water before he jumped. Then Gibson realized his only real concern now was his boots.
When you're eating ice cream and you think your tongue will freeze, give your tongue some exercise, working on your threes.
Here.
No, thanks.
What's the matter? It won't kill you, chicken. What you do is suck in deep and then hold it until it hurts.
You don't need to tell me. I see it on TV all the time. I better sit down here, you know, in case I get drunk or it hits me all of a sudden, you know?
Yeah, right.
I gotta sit down. Hey, it's no good. It's panda piss. Come on. Get with a Pepsi generation. Here, chicken. Chicken.
When they radioed Patton right after the Battle of the Bulge, if he needed food, he was 200 miles ahead of his advance units. He radioed them back and said, keep your food. We'll eat the insects and the caterpillars and the worms, but send us ammunition, send us gasoline. He stood there that day before that mob in New York City, and over those microphones he said that war is my God. The marching of armies, the rolling of tanks, the spinning of machine guns. He begged President Harry S. Truman, allow me to create just one incident with Soviet Russia. I can stop this hellish threat of communism in 6 weeks' time. I'll roll across those frozen lands of Russia, and we'll not worry with this bear from the north. They had to shut him up, but this man that said, I don't believe there was a God, God himself stopped him. A jeep overturned. The neck of this mighty man was broken. And the last words he ever said in this world, he gripped his wife's hand, and he said, it's getting darker and darker and darker. What shall the end be? What shall the end be? When that final moment comes, when the curtains are drawn, the windows are shut, and the door is closed, and you've written what you've written, you've said it, that's it. What will the end be? What about it, mister, when you've had your last beer? You've laughed at your family and laughed at your little wife. and she begged you not to go out to that bar. And you've had your big time of lust and sin and filth. What is the end going to be when you realize the time is up? You've crossed the finish line going in the wrong direction. What shall the end be? What about it, young man? When you've spent your life in a few years' time, you're a burned-out shell at 25 years of age. What shall the end be? What about it, young lady? When your morality and your virtue and your character and your purity has been lost a long, long time ago, and there's nothing left but soil and dirt and filth, and you feel so filthy and dirty. What shall the end be? When the doctors say we can't help him, and the pastor says I don't know him, and God says I've never heard of him, what shall the end be? I preached 16 weeks at the Great Assembly Tabernacle in Atlanta, Georgia for Jimmy Mayo. My last revival there, my sister called me and said, Jimmy, Uncle Lee is dying.
In the morning, the king, the queen, and the royal household greeted the princess. They all asked her how she'd slept on her lovely bed with the 20 comfortable mattresses and the 20 comfortable comforters.
Oh,
Said the princess,
I slept miserably. I scarcely closed my eyes all night. Goodness knows what was in my bed. I lay upon something so hard. Here, look at my arm. It's all black and blue.
Now they all saw she was a real princess, for no one but a real princess could be so delicate as to be disturbed by a tiny pea at the bottom of a comfortable bed. And so the happy prince took her for his wife, for he knew at last he'd found a real princess. And the tiny pea, which played such a large part in bringing the prince and the princess together, was put into the Royal Museum in a special case all its own. The next time you're in the neighborhood of the Royal Kingdom, drop in and see it.
Remember, if you write down your 11s, you'll find the clue showing why they're so easy for me and for you.
Yes, dynamic, yes, but ruthless, no. I am merely determined to provide decisive, dynamic, powerful, and inspirational leadership, and will destroy anyone who gets in my way. The time has come for us to sit down and reason together. Too often, serious world problems are discussed in an environment full of passion and unreasoning anger. The day when a fiery orator could influence an audience with vehement tirades is long since past in this age of sophisticated political awareness. Let us then communicate with each other on a civilized level. Even President Johnston disdains the impassioned appeal to the emotional sensibilities of his cattle, his people.
I used to do a great deal of marriage counseling. It was always interesting to see how lucky men were in the game of love and marriage. Not women, men. A man, no matter how old he is or how homely he is, if he wants to marry or remarry, he doesn't have much trouble. But a woman, how old is she? What does she look like? Now, if a girl goes out with a homely fellow, what do people say? He's got character. On him it doesn't show, but he's got it. But if a fellow goes out with a homely girl, they say if Moses had seen her, there'd be another commandment. Of course, the important thing psychologically is not whether you're frustrated. That we must all be. The important thing, ladies and gentlemen, is what kind of adjustments do you make when life hands you a dirty deal? Now the curtain on the drama of life is about to go up. What kind of adjustments do you make? There's not too much success in adjustment in our country. And I'm about to give you the most shocking figures you will ever hear again as long as you live. Tomorrow morning, would you do something that you've never done before? As you pass by the first schoolyard in your neighborhood, would you stop, please, and count out 25 children on the playground? Any 25 you wish. Just be sure to count your own among them. Having done that, you may then say to yourself, out of these 25 children, 2 will be in a hospital for the insane before his or her life is finished.
A magical name that becomes an era all by itself with a unique new sound. Listen.
Iraqi troops reinforced Jordanian units in areas immediately facing vital and vulnerable Israeli communication centers. Expeditionary forces from Algeria and Kuwait had reached Egyptian territory. Nearly all the Egyptian forces which had been attempting the conquest of the Yemen had been transferred to the coming assault upon Israel. The Syrian units, including artillery, overlooked the Israeli villages in the Jordan Valley. Terrorist groups came regularly into our territory to kill, plunder, and explode. The most recent of them 5 days ago. In short, there was peril for Israel wherever she looked. Her manpower had been hastily mobilized. Her economy and commerce were beating with feeble pulse. Her streets were dark and empty. There was an apocalyptic air of approaching peril.
You do the oohs and ahs.
If you hold your hands over your eyes, you will not see because you are interfering with the laws of seeing. If you deny love, you will not know love because your cooperation is the law of its being. You cannot change laws you did not make, and the laws of happiness were created for you, not by you. For love asks only that you be happy. and will give you everything that makes for happiness. It is perfectly obvious that if the Holy Spirit looks with love on all he perceives, he looks with love on you. His evaluation of you is based on his knowledge of what you are.
The test very low per second. The intensity of these tones will greatly differ per second. Orders are presented as pure tone. Center as intended adjust by the volume director. Speakers. Pilot tone itself. Form virtual sound images to originate exactly between. Adjust the loudness of the test tones, presented as pure tone. These virtual images, not unlike those of music law. Proceed to adjust the frequency response. First, the equipment should be balanced for the estimate exact. The first sound should be the stronger, not difficult to localize. Are presented as pure tone. Exactly as intended by. That is, right loudspeakers will enable you to hear your record. Is repeated several times. The test tones from 16,000 and appear to be centrally located. Tones on the left and 28 cycles per second appear to emanate between the loud octave below the middle C from a location volume control cycles per second. Is not designed to reproduce pilot tones in the loudspeaker and to match it to your own hearing sound should visual images will not appear. Rushing the midway between the loudspeakers bands wide frequency band. The third octave bands of third octave bands of pink noise.
You can burn a flag and spit and shout.
Might the tire industry have gone if Harvey Firestone had not been open to the unknown? What if he, as other people of his day did, kept looking for known solutions? Let's talk about choices during the next few minutes, about bad choices and good choices, and why it's so easy for people to say no when new solutions are offered. The truth is, we need fresh solutions to the unprecedented challenges that we face. That need is nothing new, it's just more urgent. But so often we become so adept at digging ruts and building comfortable boxes for ourselves that we allow ourselves to accept a life of non-creativity and self-made prisons. In doing so, we cheat ourselves from reaching our highest potential. We also tend to blind ourselves from the best opportunities. How?
John Sculley, former CEO of Apple Computers, said, "The future seems less predictable today. We've never lived in a time of so much volatile change. It makes planning for the future incredibly complex and difficult. And many companies have lost millions of dollars placing bets on the wrong horses."
Soon you'll whiz all the way through. Get tired riding in the car on extra long drives. You can make the minutes fly singing the song of fives.
Commodore Ray and 6 other inmates of Brushy Mountain State Prison escaped while the security officers on the yard were involved in seeing to an incident. There had been an alleged fight on the yard, during which time an inmate was supposed to have broken his leg. And while they were seeing to that, Ray and the 6 others went over the wall on an iron conduit-type makeshift ladder that they had made.
The voice was that of Barbara Cottrell of the Tennessee Department of Corrections. Embarrassed prison officials immediately launched an all-out search for Ray, the convicted assassin of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. When 2 days passed with no sign of Ray, officials feared he had made good his boast that no prison could hold him. Then, residents of a town 8 miles from the prison reported seeing 3 strangers fleeing through the area. Prison warden Stony Lane told how bloodhounds were sent to the town.
They picked it up immediately, took it across the river to the west bank, down the river about 500 yards and then into the woods. They took it through a heavily wooded area, across a log road, up a power line, and then back into the woods. This covered approximately 3 hours' time and 3 miles. He was taken in custody in the woods. He had laid down, covered himself up with leaves, pulled leaves over him, and the dog team walked up on him and took him in custody.
All of us were secret communists, all of us taking our orders and instructions from Communist Party headquarters, District 1, Boston, Massachusetts. And so the guide to subversive organizations is a dubious tribute to the skill of the communists and to the success that the communists have had in victimizing non-communist Americans. And I must say that as I observed this from inside the communist ranks, I was not only amazed, I was not only shocked, I could not understand how in the world the communists were able to do it. Well, it took me quite a while before I began to catch on. Now, as you start in the communist movement, the communists don't reveal all of their secrets to you right off. You can sure bet that. When I first joined the Young Communist League, the communists did not open up their training program with a Communist Party manual and organization, which states specifically that it is the policy and purpose of the Communist Party to work towards the destruction of our government by force, by violence, by bloodshed. No, indeed. Communists knew that at that time with these young communists, if they hit them with that kind of a message in the beginning, they would probably run. No, indeed, turning a person into a communist is a fairly long and involved process. And the communists work at it diligently. Finally, however, after you have moved deeply enough into the communist ranks, then you find that they indeed do teach some very specific things. For example, in the Communist Party manual on organization, we find on page 8 a chapter having to do with the role and aim of the Communist Party. What do they say? Quote, as the leader and organizer of the proletariat, the Communist Party of the USA leads the working class in the fight for the revolutionary overthrow of capitalism, for the establishment of the dictatorship of the proletariat,
blankets up over my head and pray that the sky would soon be light and pray that it soon would be light.
Katrina, where are you? Now don't come any closer. I'll use my gun. I have to get help. I can't remember the numbers. Maybe this button.
Hello? Who is it? Mrs. Flynn. Hedda? Hedda, is that you? It's Felicity.
Oh, you've got to help me. They broke into my home and I'm all alone.
I'll call the police.
No, they never understand. No, come yourself.
I'll pick up my son and be right there.
Three little girls went a-sliding on the ice, a-sliding on the ice, a-sliding on the ice. Three little girls went a-sliding on the ice so early in the month of May. Swing them around as you bring them in, bring them in, bring them in. Swing them around as you bring them in so early in the month of May.
And there will be a good chance of rain this afternoon, so make sure to take your little yellow raincoats and umbrella. High today will be in the low to mid 60s. We'll return with our morning mix countdown in just a moment.
United States of your America. As you study the forecast map on the center of this issue, you discern the emergence of two important forces, the solid red map of communist empire, the huge unorganized map of uncommitted nations, Africa, Asia, South America. Look again. Let your imagination trace a third block just beginning to take shape. I call it Uram. It consists of North America and Western Europe, around 10 nations. This unification is the only answer to the Soviet challenge, the nationalist communist challenge, the Chinese challenge, and so on. So we see everything getting ready. All right, where's the battle going to be fought? Vietnam? No. Berlin? No. Cuba? No. Korea? No. 17 times, if you want to study it upon arrival at home tonight, in chapters 38 and 39, God says Jerusalem. 38:8 against the mountains of Israel. 38:16, thou shalt come up against my people of Israel. 38:19, surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel. 39:2, I'll turn you back, leave but the sixth part of thee will cause thee to come up from the north parts and bring thee upon the mountains of Israel. 39:4, thou shalt fall upon the mountains of Israel.
And they would rush out into the bedlam, into the carnage, and those who survived it in any kind of fit shape were captured as prisoners, linked neck to neck with thongs into what were called coffles. If you do much reading in this, you will run into that word coffles, C-O-F-F-L-E-S. It is said that some coffles of slaves were as much as a mile in length. And they would begin those tortuous marches from wherever the villages were down toward the areas where the ships were. And when they got down, with many dying along the way for many reasons, and when they got to the shoreline area, the survivors were herded into long, low buildings built of small timbers and thatched roofs called barracoons. In the barracoons, they would be washed, they would be fed, almost force-fed. They would be crudely medicated to hurry them toward a fit physical condition. When it was considered that they were in sufficient condition, now a few at a time, they would be moved out into the yards of the barracoons, and there the owners of the ships would come, the captains and the mates, and there would ensue these hideous physical examinations, every orifice of the human body.
All right, stop. Oh. That did it.